with me, Suman is actually area sales manager for our India, and also have my technical support colleague Sanjay online, so he'll be chatting you of any of your questions and other things. All right, so this is actually our eighth session, and this session is kind of bit tricky. So because this is kind of like a software oriented, so till now what we spoke is all related to the technologies, products, and what are the solutions we normally offer. And this is to start with. So what I'm actually gonna do here is I'll be starting with basics. Basic in the sense I'm gonna build a small project, and then I'll be talking about few of the project management steps, which means on control for site, what all the how to manage the user interface neat and clean, how to make it easy, all those things. And then gonna talk about some of the drivers which can be used and which is very much simple in any of the projects. And of course, few basics on the troubleshooting side as well. All right, so this will be more like a persons who uses Composer. For them, it will be pretty much easy. And maybe if anyone joining as a new, or maybe so because I see a lot of new people on the line. Uh, Session is already started. I think someone able to audio is okay, right? So I see some chats. Sure, thanks. Okay, so and Sanjay, don't forget to record, please. All right, so this session will be recorded and we will be sharing you. And the best way is during the sessions, don't unmute and speak yourself. The best way is you can chat in. If I see something important, relevant when it's going, I'll be answering it. Otherwise, my persons on the other sides, they'll be replying back on the chat. Maybe at the last, I'll go through and read it through as well. So if I can answer something on that side. Right, so still I see a lot of no audio, so please go and select your audio device as like call via internet or call via mobile. I think audio device is not selected. That is the reason you are not able to listen. So let's just 1 second because everyone is actually asking about the audio.
Muttamil, you can start. I will address the audio issue.
Right. Okay, so I'm starting in. So what I'm gonna do is the things. All right, so starting and jumping into the session. Right. So when it comes to control for on the project creation steps, we always, sorry, they're not the project creation steps. There are three main things on the software side. One is actually we call it as the Composer Pro, which is actually the software which handles all your programming stuffs. And then we have Director, which is actually the application which is running inside your controller that handles all your commands, response, updates, all the connections, everything from the director. So if I say director or controller, it both means the same. Controller is just the hardware, director is actually the application inside the hardware. And then the last one is the beautiful navigator. So here in Control 4, you really don't have to use, you can actually create a UI or you can change the buttons and other things. But technically you can do few things like you can change the icons and other stuff. So I'm going to talk about that as well. So first one is Composer Pro, right? So Composer Pro is actually the PC application. What is the software you normally use to create any project, right? And for the mobile, we have something called Composer Express. It is actually kind of a minimal version of a Composer Pro where you can do the basic programming. I'm not going to talk about that here, but I'm going to take you to the Composer Pro. And what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to build actually a new project, which is actually a live project I'm going to build in. So to start with, maybe I'll add one AV receiver, controller, and a few other things and make the connections and see how does the UI, all these things looks like. So that's what our main first goal is. Once we done that, so then we're gonna talk in deep about the other stuffs as well, right? So to start a project, first thing we need to open the software, which is, so at present I'm running Composer Pro, which is of 3.1.3 basically. And so whenever I open this software, so first thing it'll actually ask you for the authorization, which means it'll ask you your email ID and the password. For the people who are using it, they know it because they need to assign the license to use the software. For the dealers, we'll give the license to access it. So it's actually a free license. And once you open the Composer, you will have three tabs. One is, we call it as a virtual, local system, and remote system. Virtual is nothing but if you have a huge project, you wanted to prepare it in your home, and then you go to the site and load the project, you can actually do it. Local system is you are directly connecting into the controller and you are doing the programming. So whatever the changes, connections, adding, removing, all these things, whatever you are actually doing it, so that all actually will take effect immediately. And then remote system is nothing but if you are sitting in office, if your customer calls to add some device or do some programming or changes, you can actually do it by entering in your customer account detail. Right. So what I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna connect it to my local system, which to my local controller, and I'm gonna do the programming. So whenever I open the local system, all my controllers are actually DHCP enabled. So which means if you're connected to the network, that should actually take the IP address by itself, and also it will show you what is the software which is running in. And EA3 is actually the controller what right now I'm using it. I'm selecting the controller, I'm connecting into the project, so which means I'm connecting into the controller. Once I connected in, so for the first time, it will give you some security breach warnings and other stuffs. So I'll just connected it. So this is my new project. So at present, I have not built anything. So I'm connecting to the local system. I'm gonna create a new system. This is actually the Composer view basically. So when you open the Composer, on the left side, you have a few things. One is something called system design and the connections, and then media, agents, and programming. Your system design and connections will actually do almost most of your basics of the programming, which means your devices, your connections, your IR, relay, power control, device control, all those basic things will be available there. And then you can modify or maybe beautify with the agents and the programming, all the add-on stuffs, you can really do it. So programming and the agents things also pretty much simple. So to start with, so I'll just show you what I'm gonna do. So this will be my kind of small 3-room project. So where I have the entrance with door station and the EL lock, and then living room with a TV, a AV receiver, and a Tata Sky, and then Fire TV, and then lights for a dual load dimmer I have, and then SR260 remote, and then touchscreen, and then camera. And the next thing is on the bedroom. So I have a dimmer and maybe a curtain control. I am using a Z2IO and then split AC. So, and then at last we will be talking about the user interface. So this is actually my project requirement for now. So this is what I'm going to build now. So to start with, going back to the composer. So in my composer, I'm starting with my entrance. Suman, I see some messages. People say that they were not able to connect it or something. So, right. Okay. So on
Addressing it, it's okay. Yeah.
the system design. So this system design tab is nothing but actually your home, right? So what all the rooms I have in my home and what all the devices which is there in my room. And then next tab is connections, which means your physical connection. What is your IR, how is connected, your relay, how it is connected, and then your IP devices identification, all these things will be done. Once you do this 2 steps, almost your project is done. Then also actually your just few modifications, all right? So whenever I'm doing a first, maybe the projects, the first thing what I always do is I have multiple tabs here. One is locations where you can add multiple rooms. So maybe I said I have a entrance. If something is not there, I can just double clicking here. It's a programming is actually drag and drop or double click stuff. So I'll name it as a entrance, and then maybe a living room, and then my bedroom. So these are actually the 3 rooms what I have. And then entrance. So I said I have my DS2 door station and also the lock, right? So this is what I was in my entrance door station and real living lock. So I'm going back. So on the drivers next to the locations, there are multiple tabs. One is Discover tabs, My Drivers, and Search. Discover tab is nothing but if the third-party devices supported STDP, the third-party devices which is supported STDP by Control 4, you can just double-click and add it to the project. So all the Control 4 devices, Control 4 supported devices will be available here. I can double-click and add it. And then if it is not there, definitely I can select it from My Drivers, and then I can add it. So all the Control 4 devices will be there in My Drivers. And this you can rearrange it like whatever the new folder you can create, what all the most frequently used drivers you can arrange it in the projects, because it will show almost all the control 4 devices. So but what I can do is I'll just go and I can name a folder and I can just put all my controllers, lighting devices or AV devices, whatever I'll be using it. Or you can right click collapse and you can do particularly looking into the particular items, you can go and expand and see it. This is all the driver related information will be here. So the name driver is nothing but actually the devices in generally, if you translate it in other word, in control 4 we always say for each and every devices you need a driver. So it is very similar like maybe if I'm using a printer in my laptop, so I'll directly not print, right? So I'll use a printer, I'll add as a driver, add or remove devices, I'll add the driver and then print it. So that is the same way. So my controller is something similar like printer. So I have a PC, I'm adding all the drivers to the controller, and then controller will take the actions. Okay. And then search tab, it will actually show you all the third party devices, whatever you are looking for. Maybe if you want to look for a Sony TV or anything, you can type in, and you have a filter option, and you have multiple options. Like you can select the certified drivers, you can select the local drivers. Local drivers means what the driver I have saved in my PC. And then online driver is nothing, it connects to the control 4 server and it look for the drivers if I search something. Right. So here, so I'm not going into much detail about what is the driver version and other things, and also there are more details to be covered. So at present we are not going in there. So I'll just make it my project. So all the IP devices, first I'll always look in Discover tab. If something is available in Discover tab, I'll double click it and add it to the project. If it is not there, then I'll go to my drivers and then search, right? So in my entrance, as I said, I have a door station. So this is my door station. I'm just double clicking the door station and it gets added into my entrance, right? So it, it adds the driver, it adds the camera feature, intercom feature, everything by itself. And the advantage of doing via this way, we say it actually adds the driver and it also identify the driver. I will say what is identification bit later. And that's actually the thing what it actually does. And I added a door station. And next thing is Yale Real Living, I said. So we don't have actually that's actually a Zigbee device. So definitely you need to go into search, look for Yale Real Living. So I have a Yale Real Living driver. So I'll just double click this Yale Real Living driver and I'll add it to the project. And then goes to my living room. So in my living room, I have a Samsung TV, Denon Avia, Tata Sky, Fire TV. So all these drivers. The first thing in the living room, I have the controller also. So I'll add the controller first. So this is my EA5, sorry, EA3. And once I added the driver, then so EA3 is done. So the next is AV receiver. AV receiver is not here. I'm just going in and search for X1000. And I am just double clicking again the AVR X1000 and it is adding into the project. And if you see here, along with a device what I have added, it will also add some of the like other features which is supported by device. For AV receiver, it has tuner built in, FM built in. So it adds all those things. If you look at the controller, it'll add like the music services which is built into the controller. So for our Indian region, TuneIn is actually will working. So it'll adds a TuneIn. So if you wanted to add like Amazon Music and other things from the controller, you can actually do it. So I can search for Amazon Music. So this is actually played through the controller. So I'm just adding into the project. And maybe if I want to play AirPlay, I'll be adding a share bridge as the driver. So without any hardware, controller directly plays the share bridge. So these are some of the music services which will be accessed from the controller. So I'm adding that AV receiver, and then the next thing is my TV. So I'll add Samsung TV. So I'll just, so I have some IR TV. So I'm just adding IR driver. So I know what is the model. So I just added it. And then I said SR260 remote in the project. So you can search it here also. This will show the entire driver, or you can search it if it is a control 4. I'll do SR260 and I can add that also into the project. So either way it works. And Tata Sky, again, I'm not going to add a IP driver of that party. I'll just add the basic driver. So just to see the UI. So I'm not actually, so I just wanted to show how the build project builds by itself. Right, so and then I'm just adding into the project. So I'll just add a Tata Sky driver. And then Fire TV. So I'll add a Fire TV. So if I search for Fire TV, I have the Fire TV showing in here. And add it. So these are all the devices I have in my living room. So what I have, and along with that, I have the touchscreen and the camera also. So in my living room, so I'm just going to add it. So it's all actually control for device. What I can actually do is I'll just go to my Discover tab. I have a package camera, not the Luma one. So will not be having a privacy settings and other things on this. It'll just the live stream, but I can use the motion sensor and other things on the camera. And also I have a 10-inch involved touchscreen in my home, so I just added that as well. So all my devices added. And then next thing is your bedroom. So in my bedroom, so what are the devices I have I shown? So what I have is I have a dual, and even in the living room also I have a lighting dimmer. So I'm using a Zigbee solution here. It's a dual load dimmer in my living room. So when I add the dual load living room dimmer, I need to add the load also specific to the type. So which means it sub control 2 loads, right? So dimmable light or non-dimmable light you can add in and you can name it whatever the name you wanted. So to make it more and easy, meaningful, I'll be naming it as the device, whatever I am adding in. So I'll say as a living keypad, and maybe I'll say living, or maybe I'll just name it as a light, or maybe you can give what are the names you wanted, spotlight, or whatever the name you are actually meant for. So I'll just make it as a light. Maybe I'll say it as a cove light. So whatever the name you are actually giving into the load. So just it's a dual load dimmer. So I added the dimmer and then I have added the loads to that. So then we need to make the connections. We will be going to the connections bit later, so not now. And then next thing is my bedroom. So in my bedroom, so again I have another dual load dimmer in my bedroom. So if it is a dimmer, definitely I need to add a load to it. So either
We can't hear you. Yeah,
hello.
बताओ.
Yeah, it got hung.
Pause.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll say bedroom keypad, and then for the dimmer, maybe I'll say bedroom. And maybe if it is a night lamp,
Tamil,
I'll
your
say
audio is bad.
night lamp. Um, is it okay now? Still same?
It's fine.
Better.
Please. The screen got stuck.
And then in my bedroom, so along with it, I have a Z2 IO, which is a Zigbee module to control the curtain motor. So normally we'll be not adding the motor driver, so you need to add the device what you're actually going to control it. So I'll add a Z2. So it's a DC motor, so I'm just adding this to control it. And once I add the Z2 IO, it can be configured. So what I'll do, I'll make it both as a relay. And then to control it, so it's just the device. Then after that, definitely you need to add the blind driver. So I am controlling, it's actually a dual relay blind. So I'll add a 2 relay blind driver to the project. And I'll just name it as a curtain. And then last, thermostat. Okay, so definitely you can do lot many other things. I'm just making it pretty much simple. So what are the devices I wanted to add in my room? So I have added all the devices into the room. Then this actually completes your physical devices in the room. So what are the devices I have? So maybe you can rename it as whatever the names you are actually wanted to, split AC. And if any rooms which is not there, you can just right click, rename, you can do all those things are pretty much possible. So I added all my devices in the room. Then the next thing is connections, right? So when I select the connections, you'll have two options. One is control audio video, your audio video connections, and the next one is network. So this is actually your IP and Zigbee connections. So normally I'll start with network connection first. So I'll go to network and select my IP network. It shows me a device, whatever I wanted to identify. So for example, we have added couple of devices from Discover tab like DS2, EA3 and all those things. If you see here, it shows with the address, right? So what is the devices which is added into the project? But if I select my AVR is actually not HTTP one, so it is not addressed. So how you can address is you just double click it. It will give you option to identify it. Or if you know the IP address, for example, if I go on the right side, it will show all my available devices. It shows me IP address, which is 192.168.0.110. So I'll say 192.168.0.110. So done. So then immediately it shows online. And also the Fire TV, I'm not sure on the Fire TV IP address because this is not HTTP driver, so it will not be having in here. So somewhere I should be seeing in.
Go to connections and Fire TV
Yeah,
or
so
system design. Sorry.
there is another option to identify it. So I can go into Fire TV. So you have a Fire TV selector here. I can say it's Muttamil Fire TV stick. It got identified. So definitely you need to enter the IP address also here, but it works from here also. If I just do it, I think the IP address is, if I remember, it is 192.168.0.104. So again, it shows as online. So all the devices, whatever it is identified, it will actually show as online. And my IP identification is done. So then I can actually go into Zigbee and identify all my Zigbee devices. Before identifying any Zigbee devices, the best practice, not the best practice, it actually the main recommendation is you need to identify enable your Zigbee. So for that, I'll go into the project and it'll say I have actually not set my location information, because if you don't set the location information, your scheduling, all those things will not actually work. I'll say set okay, and then go into Zigbee. I can say edit Zigbee configuration and it'll give you option to enable the Zigbee, and I can say okay, and this will take a couple of minutes to enable it. So once it is enabled, it'll show the channel number. Then I can identify all my Zigbee devices here, right? So this done my IP and Zigbee identification. Once I identify, it'll show all the routing tree, everything available here, and I can check whether the status and other thing. And the next thing is your control and audio video. So what is the connections, right? So I'll say expand. So control and audio video is nothing but your IR, relay, all those things you need to collect it, right? So to start with, I'll be starting with the EA3. So my EA3 HDMI, I have connected to my input aux in my AV receiver, right? And then if I go in, this is actually your physical connections, what you have done. So I'm just representing the same. So IR1 I have connected to TV, then IR2 I have connected to Tata Sky. And so that's my EA3 connection. And then if I go further down, I have a AV receiver. So from the AV receiver, so it's only one connection, my HDMI output to my TV. Done. And then next is done. So if you go Tata Sky, so my Tata Sky connection. So Tata Sky is connected to cable sat, and then Fire TV. So Fire TV I have connected to media player, right? So and I think that's it. And yeah, so the lighting. So as I told you, it's a dual load device. You need to add the device and then loads. So if I select my keypad, which means a living dual load dimmer, it gives you all the load 1, load 2 options. You can connect dimmable or non-dimmable load. So here what I have, all are my dimmable loads. So which is in my dimming, which is in my living room. So load 1 is connected, and then load 2 is also connected to a dimming load. And then bedroom keypad, load 1 is connected to my dimmable load. If you select a non-dimmable load, it'll actually show all the available non-dimmable load. You can connect to the non-dimmable load also. It's a drag and drop connection. You select what is the input and output goes, just drag and drop it. And if you wanted to delete it, just right click and delete it actually. So you can actually do that. So then load 2, I'll be connecting to a dimmable load. And that's my bedroom keypad. And then I'll go to Z2IO because I need to connect it to curtains, right? So I'll connecting my curtain, and that Z2IO actually also can actually do is I'll be connecting the IR output to my split unit. So I really don't have to run the cable from all the way from bedroom to my living room. So this is my basic connections and basic programming what we have done right now. Once we done this, I'm just gonna do a refresh navigator. Once I done the refresh navigator, it'll gonna refresh my navigator and the directors, and I can connect it from my mobile app and I can see whether my project is built up. So to do that, so first thing you need to register your right. So it is registered and connected, check-in successful. So now I can actually open my app. So I'll be just opening my app and show you the basic projects what we built now. It has actually built by itself and what it is actually it shows. So it just loading. Give me a moment. There are a few more other things we can do in the project, so I'll be showing you that as well. So before that, I just wanted to show you with the basic connections and basic adding the devices, because if I'm doing it for a couple of times, this thing I can do it in like 10 minutes, right? So right now I'm showing each and everything in detail and I'm connecting it. So, but if you are doing it for the project, you can directly, like, I can just open, connect, make the devices connected, because if you are doing the projects, you know what is the devices you want to connect it and what is the connections it is and how it is connected. So you'll be doing it pretty much faster. So once you connected it, it will be showing you, this is actually the Control 4 app. So I'll be going back and opening my Control 4 app. So whenever I open it, so I'll go to settings. So this is your first screen. It'll give you option to add your customer. So you can add like your name, email ID, and the password. Once you added it, you can connect it. So right now it is connected. So and once you open it, this is what your entire project is, what you have built right now. So you have entrance, living room, bedroom. So in my entrance, whatever I have, like I have a security, locks and sorry, the camera, all those things will be showing in. And the main important thing to show here is your living room. So if I go into living room, so I have all my watch, listen, lighting, comfort, all these experiences, right? So just for example, I'll go under watch. So I have too many things, which means it is actually built by itself. So my TV, Tata Sky, Fire TV, all those icons are actually available by itself. And then if I go into listen, so I have all my listen experiences like my music, ShareBridge, all those things are available. But right now, what you're seeing here, it is actually all built by itself, right? And then if I go under lighting, so I'll have a couple of rooms. I have all the lightings here. If I want to go into only one room, I have lighting for that particular room, so I can see and I can control. And for the split units, it'll be showing this is actually the IR one, so I can control the temperature and all those things. So that's actually the basics of it. Now few more add-ons. All right, so to start with, I'll be going into the living room. So if you go in the living room, so you'll have watch video and audio devices. We call this as a room endpoints, but at present I'm not going into what is that and explaining all those things. But when I add any devices to the room, it actually builds the UI by itself. So right now, if you see here, so it shows all my available video sources. I have too many sources, but my customer will definitely not be using all those options, right? So when you see my UI, you might be seeing it like when I show under watch, you will be seeing all these options, but your customer will not use all this. You'll be using Tata Sky Fire TV, right? So how do I make it very much useful, or how do I hide whatever which is unwanted? So you can just go to navigator, you can go to watch, and you can just say modify whatever you don't want it. You can just select and then say hide and then okay. So maybe same thing for listen, or maybe if you feel that some of the devices which is showing in the room, it is actually showing in the other room, you can hide that as well. So maybe even my musics and other things, I can actually hide in here. So this gives you more control to you so that you can, once I done that, I can say refresh navigator and it'll get refresh, and I'm casting it again. And this is my watch now. So you have only Tata Sky and Amazon Fire TV, right? So that's actually the beauty of the system. So the most of the UI and other steps whichever showing or not showing, you really don't have to worry about it. And all the devices which shows will actually have the actual feedback, actual control, and that's about it actually. And then if you select Amazon Fire TV, so if I go further down, there is something called Amazon Fire App Switcher, because Amazon is just like an application player, right? So I can play YouTube, I can play Prime Video, whatever I wanted, right? So what I can do, I'll say YouTube, I can add a YouTube universal driver to it, or maybe a Prime Video. I'll say Prime Video and universal driver. I can add that to the project, and I can go to connections and I'll select my Amazon Fire TV app and I can just connect it. So now what will happen is in my UI screen, this will be actually showing my YouTube and Amazon Fire TV directly. If I select something, this will launch the Amazon Fire TV, and then select the turn on your TV, turn on your AV receiver, everything it will happen by itself. We don't have to do programming like turn on this, add delay, turn on that. So no sequence, nothing is needed. It all actually happens by itself. So that's what actually the beauty of the system is. And even for the Tata Sky, actually, I'm using a very basic driver. It is not IP driver. I said IR driver. So we have the IP driver also. When you use the IP driver, you can program EPG and other stuffs. So maybe Tata Sky, if you want to add the channels, favorite channels by myself, you can actually do it. So when I add a Tata Sky, along with it, there is something called Direct TV. Right. So what happens, this directv we call it as a cloud driver. So where I can so I can go into media, I can select the directv and I can add the channel number. Maybe if I say hbu and channel description, channel number, all those things can be done, and then say okay. And if you have album art or other things, you can actually add in and you can actually do whatever you wanted. And we do actually have the imported files, you can add it. This is even for the basic drivers itself. So once I added those channels and other things, what will happen is this will be showing in my UI again under watch. So I'll have something called channels. This will show all your channel list here and with the logo. So right now I have not added the logo. It will show the logo and other things from here itself. So that's my the basics of project building. Definitely a lot of other things you can actually do it, like you can create scenes. For that actually we will be using agents, advanced lighting agents, then email notification, then push notification, scheduling. So you can do a lot many things along with it. And then of course the programming side, we do very basics in programming, and that'll give you more flexibility and all the controls over it. So maybe if I wanted to program a motion sensor of my door station to do any audio or lighting control, so I'll, on the left side you can just select the devices, on the right side you will be selecting the room, and I'll just say maybe I want to turn on my lights. I'll just go to my living room light, and I'll just say turn it on. So that's how it is. On the left side, whatever you are seeing, this is actually called as event screen. So when this happens, on the right side, you'll be do this. Okay, and also you will have a conditions as well, if conditions. So maybe if I wanted to use it with the if conditions and other stuffs, you can definitely do it. That's what the basics to start with any of the programming, right? So now I'm ending here on the basics of the programming. So I'm not going to do all the programming possibilities, everything by now, because we have the dedicated training for programming and other things later. And this is kind of introduction to the composer, right? So someone, you want to add up something here?
No, it's okay. Go ahead with the thing.
Right. Thanks. Okay, so right, so that's the project. So the project what we built right now on the live, right? And next thing, this is mainly for the people who are already doing the projects and already doing the composer. For those people, so you know how to do the composer, you are doing the project for quite some time. So what is the best way? What is the easiest way, or what is the right way to do it? Most of the times, people will ask, right? So I know I'll add the devices, make the connections, it works fine, but I'll be like whether I'm doing it right or wrong, right? So just a refresher kind of stuff for the people who know the programming already. The point number one. So what I did right now is also not the right way, because I just made it more simple to just go with it. So the first thing is add the controller and identify the controller to the project, and then create the customer account and then register the customer account. Why this step has to be the first step is without registration, you will not be able to update the controller and you will not be able to connect it from the mobile app. So registration is very much important. And always we prefer to run the correct OS version in all the devices. So first thing, I SDDP the controller to the project, create customer account, register the customer, and then set the location information. And location information is pretty much important because your scheduling and all those things will actually happen from the location. And the next thing is project information, what we call it as. Project information is nothing but anything related to your project IP address or anything to be aware of, because you will be doing a project. Maybe when there is a issue, somebody else might be doing, right? So going to the site, but for them, they want to know something. Definitely, you can fill in with the project information here itself on the composer. And then we have something called lighting defaults. All right. So where is all these three steps? So in my composer, so when I select my project, so first thing I told you, STDP the controller, just double click and add the controller. Then go to tools, create a customer accounts and register the customer. And then the fourth step is your location information, which is available here. Then fifth step is your project information, anything related to your project notes, dealer information, system information, you can actually set in here. And then comes your lighting defaults, because sometimes you'll be seeing as a voltage as 140, 120 volt. So we can set it as a 240 volt panelized lighting, lighting keypad finishes, LED behaviors, everything you can set in the project itself. This is for entire project. If you wanted to change it in the device also, you can actually do it. So that's actually the best way. And as I told you, so we have 15 steps normally. So the 6 steps is the basics. And then comes your 7th step, where you need to add all the rooms, close all those details, and then adding the devices like TV, lighting, locks, etc., all those things. And then the 9th step is naming the devices, right? So you need to name the devices properly. And also, if you have a keypad, you need to assign the keys properly. And so all the basic steps on the projects. And then the 10th one is identifying all your IP devices. And then 11th one is enable the Zigbee to identify your Zigbee devices. And then 13th step is your physical connections on the composer. So this 13 steps, this is what we are actually discussed right now. Once you're done with this 13 steps, your projects will be pretty much good and fine to control each and everything individually. And then you have a lot of other options to make it more better. One of those things is actually called as room endpoints, right? So this endpoints will actually give you option to connect the endpoints, make the programming, so do all the things whatever you actually wanted. And then the 15th step is the add-ons, which means the beautification of your projects. So what all the extra things you can do with the project, right? So this is what it's actually all about, right? Okay, so this is the entire project creation steps for the people who are doing the project already, and you can actually do that. So that's the basic creation of the project. So this will give you a proper flow of the projects, which means add. So this 15 steps, it will give you a proper flow of your projects. You can actually do it pretty much correctly, right? So, and we talked about Zigbee quite often times, so I'm not really going much into the Zigbee again. So I'll just run through the 5 principles what we have discussed earlier. Okay, so because a lot of the times we'll have issues with the Zigbee and other things. So you can always remember, don't put the controller in the rack, and then use a secondary controller as a mesh controller, and then put the Zigbee mesh controller in the centralized position. Then step number 4, have the proper distance between your wireless access point and your Zigbee mesh controller, because both works on the same 2.4 frequency. Then you will definitely have some interference issues. And then limit your number of devices on the Zigbee. So always consider per mesh controller not more than 70. So if you have more, add another slave controller, add more mesh controller. Right? So that's the basic principles we always say. And we talked more about Zigbee, so I'm really not going to talk about that again. Right? So now comes your home interface beautification. Right? So once you've done your projects, done your programming, so you've done all the things, which is pretty much fine. So all the things are working. But for the customer, what they normally see is they always see the user interface, which means their app and other things. They always prefer whether the app is fine. So if that looks fine, if that impresses the customer, so definitely you are pretty much fine with the projects, right? So this is what actually pretty much important on the the home interface designing. Okay, so we have some of the design principles here. So that's what we are going to discuss it now. One is device names. What are the devices in the project? And engraving and default volume, custom buttons, wallpaper, screensavers, navigator, voice routines, and then when and then. So if you configure these things properly to support your customer will definitely feel the difference between the home automation what we are experiencing previously or what is the experience he is having right now. You can actually make it better, right? So let's discuss in detail about each and everything. One is device names. Okay, so always keep your device name simple and clear and make it consistent. Always check the spelling and the grammar. So a lot of the times they'll just write whatever they feel like, but because that is actually the user interface your customer is using, that is what the text is reading it. If you make something which looks really not okay for the customer, your customer will not be okay. And then customer perspective, right? So this is very uncommon for most of our technicians. They'll have the technical name for anything. So they'll say like, a rack server, or maybe a rack TV, or maybe a rack video player, or maybe for the lights, they'll name it as a LED, a living LED. So don't give it in that way. You check with your customer, what is the name they really wanted. So what is the name they're normally using it, okay? And make it more simple. Don't give it like living room dimmer, or living room dimmer 1 2 3. So this and all will actually not for the customers, right? So customer is something is investing more, so you need to give them the better experience, right? So give all these names pretty much simple, neat, clean for the customer for the regular use. Then it will be pretty much easy for the customer to maybe control it, or they'll say this is what my light is, right? So they'll be pretty much happy that my name is there in my screen, right? So that's where the feel about the device names, right? So then next comes is your engravings, right? A lot of the times we do engravings, all right? Don't do the engraving by yourself unless your customers approves it. That's why we always say put the blank button, have some stickers on it, or maybe you can put the side sticker on it, and give the names familiar to the customer. Let the customer use it for a couple of times, then they'll get you send it for it. Go to tools, reports, you will have two options. One is check your engraving order. For the order processing, so that it'll make it more neat and clean. All right, and also check your fits and finish. Maybe if I bought a keypad as a white keypad, and then if I'm ordering for a black keypad, you should consider the up and down button and maybe the actuators, all those things by yourself, because they'll be just sending the engraving key. So then you need to add all those things extra, right? So this is some of the times we normally miss it. So most of the times we always put white, and then we may change it to the customer color, whatever they feel like. I think again I lost my internet connection a bit. Voice is okay, Suman? Just give me okay to go ahead.
It's okay.
Okay, sure. All right, so then once after the engraving, so the third one is default volumes. All right. Okay, so set maybe if I'm setting a default volume for the room, don't set everything to like 40%, 30%. Right. So because each and every receiver will perform in its own way. So go into each and every room, listen the audio, and when you come out from one room to other room, so the audio should actually follow. It should not be like I'm listening in this room properly, and then that room it goes higher, and then other room it goes pretty much lower. So don't do it. Maybe in one room it might be 30%, next room it might be 40%, then other room it might be 35%. So you go into each and every room, listen it, and then set the default volume, because this is very much important. Because maybe if I'm watching a match at the night, or maybe if there is a party happening at my home, so I'll be playing at the full blast. Then next day when I go and play something, it'll be playing at that particular high volume. So that will really not give you a great impression, right? So you can always set the default volume and set the room purpose, check the purpose, and maybe if I'm playing a multi-room audio, so every room and every location I'm going in, it should be like a flow, right? So it should not be, I should not be seeing dropping in one where and then it is going high in other room. So consider the default volume, and then next one is custom buttons and the experience buttons, right? So the custom button is actually needed for some of the cases. Your customer will ask that give me, I wanted a keypad kind of option in my touchscreen, uh, where it has the direct option going instead of other things. Definitely you can do it. So add the custom button to the project, give it and set the room purpose, and tell your customers and tell them this is what it actually does. You add some sequences and give the same automation experiences. And in some cases you may need to consider the experience buttons as well. So consider experience buttons as well if it is needed, which means where you can add your own icons, logos, create your own custom images. All those things are definitely possible, right? So when it comes to custom buttons, as I told you, consider if it is needed for the customer, add the customer, because sometimes I'll say I really don't have to go to tune in, select favorite, and then play favorite. Instead of that, if I had a favorite and if I add that favorite into my custom buttons, I can call it from my single operations, right? So I really don't have to go inside the each and everything in detail. So that makes more easy. So in each and every room, so you can have up to 4 sets of custom button with 6 buttons. So that will give you more flexible control. It will be more like your keypad, a virtual keypad on your touchscreen. And experience button, I'll talk about that bit later. And then comes we have option to add the wallpapers, where the customer also can add wallpaper. First important thing is consider the resolution. Don't add the high-end resolutions. The maximum it supports is, I suppose, 720p or 1080p. That is what the maximum resolution at present it supports in our touchscreens. And our user interface, I think it's 1080p. And consider the resolution. Don't add small images to like make it as a blur image, or don't add too bright images to hide all your icons. So these are the small things. It'll make a lot of difference. And if possible, have a professional camera and try to add the customer home, a room with some so to give them the better feel. So you can actually do that as well. So that'll give you more flexible on. So they'll be like selecting the rooms and controlling the wallpapers. And also you show the customer that you can also change the wallpapers even if they are changing it or not. So they'll be happy that they have given some flexibility to play around with some things. Then comes your navigator. So your on-screen navigator, keep it neat and clean. Go into devices and hide unwanted devices. And also don't add too many favorites in one single room. That will be like why I'm having this, because it will be full of icons. It will be more like your laptop or desktop with more number of folders. So if that is the case, you can give him something like a virtual rooms. What I can do is maybe if it is a big project, I'll be creating one extra room and I'll name that room as a security room, right? So I'll say it as a security, and in that security room, I'll make it visible all the cameras, logs, sensors in that particular room. So whenever customer opens in the particular room, so he can see all his logs, cameras, everything from the single room. So when it goes to other rooms, we really don't have to worry about like that option is not showing there. So this makes it more neat and clean. And don't add too many options. Make it neat, clean. That's what the navigator is all about. Because in some cases, I'll be seeing like everywhere there are a lot of icons going up and down. So don't do it actually. So that is really not the right option for the customers. And then comes your voice commands, right? So make all your voice commands simple. Don't give too technical name. So if you name your device properly, your voice commands will be pretty much neat and simple. And in your customer portal, you can actually do the voice commands and you can show to your customer, maybe for example. So this is actually another thing which I wanted to show you on the voice scenes. And enabling voice scene is pretty much simple. If I'm using Alexa, so I'll just log in into my alexa.amazon.com or maybe my Alexa app. I'll open it from the app. That is pretty much faster. So screen sharing. Right. So I'm going to my Alexa.
I mean, your audio is not there.
Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think my screen is not sharing. I'll just connect it again. Right. So you just go into search and look for control for skills, and you just enable the skill into the project. Once you've done it, you can enter your customer email ID and the password, and it'll actually create all the commands. And maybe once it is done, you can go into device and you can see Alexa discover devices. It'll actually show you all your scenes and all the devices. I'll just select all my devices and I can see all my programming, whatever I have done it from here. It'll read all your audio, video, everything from here itself. And once I done this, definitely I can go into my control 4 port. So you tell the commands pretty much, make it neat and simple, and it will give you any repeated things by itself. You can change the names, make it pretty much easy and usable for the customers, right? And also teach your customer to create routines where the customer can do some custom turn on bedtime. So it'll be like closing my blinds slowly, then turning off my lights, and maybe playing some quiet music, and then turning off everything and make my bedroom ready, turn on it. So these things can be done from by customer by themselves. You can just give them the routine options so they can select any, because it'll give you all the device selection options by itself. Right. So then comes the when and then option, which is mainly for a techie customer. It is not for all the customers basically. So if some customer wanted to play with the programming, they want to play something by themselves, definitely they can do it. And this will definitely not let customer delete your programming unless you make it visible for the customer. So if the customer is a techie customer, you know what he's actually doing, you can actually go ahead and delete it, or maybe you can add some comments to it, or maybe if there is a scheduler, your customer say that the scheduler, I want to change it from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, can you help me out? You can just enable the programming so customer can change by themselves. So that's the beauty of when and then basically. Right. So, and as I told you, so it is not for all the customers. You can say to all the customers, but it is up to the customers whether how techy the customer is, right? So that's about it. So just a small reminder. So your voice commands and then when and then needs foresight, as we discussed about when you're doing the products. So your app, if you want to connect it from remote, you need to have foresight and then intercom, email push notification, voice commands, and when and then all this needs foresight. Right. So that's the basics, right? So how to make your project neat and simple and clean. The next one is like we have couple of drivers, not couple of drivers. There is a lot of drivers where you can use this driver and make your project to make it simple, and where you can connect it and where you can do a lot of programming stuff without doing it from there. I think someone is unmuted by yourself, please. Hello. Right. Okay, thank you. Right, so now we are going to talk about the drivers which will be there in any of the projects. Maybe going further, you can consider using these drivers where you can it can make most of your programming pretty much easier, pretty much simple to use it in any of the cases, right? So one of the driver is room control driver, right? So I seen it, a few of the people already started using it, and maybe for the people start not know about it, or people they're not used it. So what is this room control driver? You can use it is very similar like how you program your advanced lighting scene. Without programming, you can do it from the connections. Maybe you just select the keypad, it'll give you all the room control options. Most of the audio video, one is your volume control, and the next one is like a preset cycling. So maybe button, if I press first time, play some favorite channel, then second time, play my second favorite channel, third time, you can make it up to 5 presets without doing any programming. It gives you more like kind of a macro kind of flexibility, like you can control your audio, video, and lights together in that particular room. Or maybe you can group of particular rooms. Maybe I can want all my 5 rooms to be turned off, all my lights together. You can do that. So this can give you more option even for the default volume as well. So what is this default volume control? If you do it here, your room control default volume will be go away, and even you can program the LED based programming and other things and all. We will be making it more simple. So to go further, so before I'm going in, I'll just add a room control driver and I'll show you what it actually does, so that it'll be pretty much easy. And room control. So this is my room control driver. So when you add the room control driver, you have multiple options. Like you can select multiple rooms if you wanted, or if you want to program only one room, you can say it as one room. So you can rename it as a living room control. You can set default volumes, right? And then you can select the audio video presets. Maybe if you want to launch YouTube on button 1, you can select it. Maybe on the button 2, you want to launch preset 1, sorry, not a button 2. Preset 2, you want to launch a prime video, you can actually do that. So this is the only thing you normally need to do. So rest all you can do it in the programming. So go into connections, select your room control driver. Room control driver have channel up, channel down, volume control, skip forward. This will give you almost like SR260 functions. And more than that, it'll also give you like a preset selection. Maybe preset 1, 2, you can select it, or maybe you can select it as a preset cycler. Preset cycler includes off. You can do all those programming by the connection itself. So this makes it more simple. Because previously what we normally used to do, we'll go to program, whenever we select any button, do certain actions. That's lengthy process. You really don't have to do that anymore, right? So maybe I'll add some buttons. Maybe I'll say, what is a button? I'll make it as a movie, or, and then room off. So whatever the buttons you wanted, maybe up and down. So all these things you can actually do. So now first thing I need to change the button behavior because it's a dimmer. I'll set it as a keypad. Now I'll go to my connections. I'll select my keypad. So maybe if I say movie button, it'll actually give you on the below preset cycler. I can just connect it. I'm done. So even the volume up, room off. So it's as easy as that. Don't worry about the programming. So it all happens in the connection by itself. right? So that's actually the beauty of a room control driver basically. And then the next driver is UI experience buttons, right? Uh, most of the times you might be worrying about the icons for something like if I have gold cassette player or maybe if I have a Chromecast, so how do I connect it? So how do I the drivers? So we have the drivers ready-madely available, maybe PS4 and other things. So maybe right now I'll show you Chromecast. There is a Chromecast UI button. This is actually the driver. So you just add it, and this just the icon will look like a Chromecast because you normally you will not have any control for the Chromecast. You can go in, select the Chromecast, select and bind it. So if it is only audio, you can set it as audio, set, go to connections, select your Chromecast, and it will give you audio output only. So that's about it. So that's my UI experience buttons. There is a buttons for like cameras, some NVRs and other things. If you wanted to have the icon, but there is no control, do that. So that's my UI experience button. And then comes status button, right? So what is this status button, right? So it looks something similar like a scenario button, but it is actually not a scenario button. So what it can actually do is it'll give you more flexibility and more status. Maybe you can program it like uh, maybe if I'm having a bathroom light, so I give a timestamper 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. So all this 15, 60, 30, each can have the different color state. So how we can show, like you can program it to change as whatever the colors you wanted, like orange, yellow, or so it'll give you most of the color options. Even this button also will give you option to change the icons, and also this button can actually act as a button, normal regular button as well. So how does it looks like? So I'll just go to my connections and add this UI status button. So this is what the button is. If you just wanted to use it as an icon to show only the status, you can just say clickable to no. So if you set it, so it'll just give you option, and you can program it like maybe when door lock opens, do see one color, or maybe it plays, maybe even in the UI also, maybe I can play when Tata Scale plays one icon, then maybe Fire TV it plays it, I can give different color in the UI, so I can actually do that. Or if you wanted to have the clickable option, which means you can select, so it'll come back again. So you can do all the, so if you wanted a couple of colors, you really don't wanted it, you can say no as well. And on the programming, you will have all the options, right? So maybe when you select the button, when you have this color, what is the action you wanted? And this is pretty much used for a basic RGB. This IR-based RGB controllers, normally people will say that there is no color icon, color button. So you can actually use this. So it will give you, like whenever you select any color, you can actually change, you can program it something to match it. All right, so I'll say programming whenever there is a color happens. So if I have a basic RGB lights, or maybe if I have the driver for it created, maybe the remote, which is the button, I can actually match it with the buttons. Or if you wanted to use it as only the status button, you can just use it as a status. So whenever any actions happen, maybe curtain closes, opens, I want to see it from the icon. So I can say all the color options here. So that's the beauty of UI status button basically. Right. So now the next thing is countdown timers, right? You can program a countdown timer for any of the actions you wanted. Maybe a bathroom fan timer, hot water. Maybe for example, what happens if I turn on a geyser, I normally used to program a delay to turn it off, or maybe I'll use the timer to turn it off. Instead of doing that, we have the countdown timer driver itself, or we have actually added a countdown timer with some of the experience button. So one of that button, what I'm going to show now is actually maybe I'll say water heater, or maybe hot water. So this is actually the driver. And normally geyser, I'll be connecting into any of the relay or the light. So what I can say, so this give you all the time options, right? So you can say what is the on color, what is the preset LED color, or what is the off color. And control method, is it IR or maybe lighting switch? If it says lighting switch, you can set and you can select the lighting switch, what it is actually. So I'll say this is just for example, I'll take it as a geyser. Don't confuse it. I'll just rename it also as a geyser. Right, so right now it becomes a geyser now, so it matches. So I'll use a switch, and I'll have multiple options. Maybe sometimes I'll feel like I wanted to bath it more hot. So I'll just give some 2-3 options. This is what they'll say. It is a valid entry. You can enter it 10, 15, so 15, 30, whatever you wanted. So now what will happen is only three actions will happen: 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So for each and everything, it'll actually show you like right now it is off. So when I say 10 minutes, it'll be 10 minutes, and then 15 minutes and 20 minutes. And then you can actually see after 20 minutes, it'll turn it off by itself. And you don't have to worry about whether I turned it off or not. Or if you wanted to manually turn it off also, maybe after a minute, if you select it, it'll go off. So that's about it. So I can actually have the full control over it. So that is mainly for a timer-based events. And if you wanted to use this with any other thing which is not there here, because we have it for a heater, we have for a pathway, geyser, and all those things. If you wanted to use only as a countdown timer, you can use it as a countdown timer here. So this is actually the countdown timer driver itself. And this gives you almost all the time feasibility which is available in this. And you can select it. So right now what will happen is, so whenever I select, it will have all the timer selections happens, and you can program it. Like after 5 minutes, you want to do any actions, you can actually program it. So that's the entire flow control, and this can be available in UI. So most of this experience button, what will actually happen is it will not be visible by itself. So you need to select the room, go to the navigator, go to watch, and you need to make it visible. Maybe UI status, I want to show it under watch, or maybe I want to show it under security, and I can make it visible wherever I actually want it. So that's about it. Right, so then what is the next driver we are going to discuss here is relay controller. What is this relay controller? Sometimes you will be like having a motion sensor or maybe a door contact to program to open or close your door or anything, right? So you can use this relay control driver. This will give you option to add your contacts and the relays into the single driver, and you can program it. So how does it works? Garage door controller. So I'll add the garage door relay controller. When I add this driver, so you'll have two options. One is a relay to control, and then another option is sensor. So you can select any sensor also you wanted. So if I go into connections, so this will give you both the options, relay. So even the relay, if it is a dual relay, you can select it. 3 relay, you can select it, any relay as you wanted. So I'll say to dual relay, and the whole type is not the pulse type. And if it is a toggle relay, you can toggle it. And if you want to connect it to the sensor, you can add any sensor and you can connect it. So that's simple as that. So it'll work for the sensor when it senses something. And also if you can directly go on, if you select something, it'll show open close status as well. So you can know that there is action which is happening. And these things can be programmed in the keypad also, pretty much simple. Maybe if I select a keypad, where is that keypad? So maybe I'll program it for button 3. And if I go down, it will give you all the UI icons. Like maybe I want a garage door to toggle it. You can toggle it from the keypad itself. So no worry about the programming. Add devices what you wanted, connected, done. Right. So our main main thing for this connection is all the LED behaviors. So if you connect it to that way, when it is open, it will be blue. When it is closed, if you want to change it, you can change it the color as well. So you don't have to worry about the LED feedback also. Because if I do something on the programming, I need to do the connections, I need to do then I need to go into the programming, I need to do all those things by myself, right? So this we want to make it more simple and more useful for most of our dealers. So for this, actually, we have the drivers which is already available for like a garage door or gate, even for the entrance door, screens, all those things which is available. You can use it to program it. And if you wanted to use it only as an icon to show only the status, which means if you don't want to control it manually, you can actually do it as well. So where you have that option is sorry, there are a couple of drivers which actually has the option. All right, so I think it is not there. So I think it's might be my mistake. So sorry. So there are a couple of drivers which can show only the status and without control option. Couple of drivers which can actually show the status. So this is not actually showing. So that's the entire beauty of the garage door. So I'll just check that. Maybe a door sensor. I think it will be having it option. So you can check it up. And one of the other thing, scenario experience button. Most of the times people don't use icons which is actually meant for to use it. So what we always say is use the actual icons, or maybe if I'm using it, so if it's a movie mode, I can actually program active and inactive state, right? So for this, actually there is a article also which explains how to change the icons. The article number is 1451. If you wanted, you can take it as a reference. You can check it up. And I have added in the presentation also as the article number, which is 1451. The best and the easiest way, but nobody actually does in most of the case. The main reason is uh, they really don't want it, or maybe the icons is the main worry. So you can actually add any PNG file and make it as icon. And how I can actually do it. So first thing is I'll copy it in my desktop. So to make it easy. So where is my driver? So this is my experience button driver. I copy it. The first thing you want to do is make it as a zip file. So normally it will be a C4Z file. If it is a C4Z file, it will be a driver. If you make it as a zip file, you can actually change the icons by yourself. And then once you've done it, you can extract it. Once you extract it, it will be showing it something like this. You will have a couple of folders. This will not be there. This you need to create it later. So this will be like this. You can go into your WW folder, go to icons. This is actually the whole set of icons you really need to change, right? So for active and inactive state. So there are a couple of images sizes you need to consider, 30, 70 and 120. So sorry, 70, 90 and 300. So there is a software in that knowledge base 1451. You can use that software to create the icons. Once you change it, if you are renaming the active inactive state, definitely you can need to go into the XML file by using Notepad++ or Control4 driver developer software and change the name, change the date. These two things important. Maybe you can play with the versions also, and then the file name. So what is actually you are using it. So if you're using a same default button, then that's well and good and fine. Once you've done this, you are done. So you can save it, and after that come back to that folder, select all those folder and do a compress it, and then it will actually give you option to make it as a zip folder. Don't make it rar folder on other folder, make it as a zip folder, set it okay, and it is a zip now. You just go ahead and rename it as Z4 zip file. One of the important thing, always ensure you have the folder properties. Go to properties, sorry, view, and you have a folder options, and under the view, show not hidden folders, show extension for the known file types. So this is pretty much important, because otherwise it will not be showing as a C4Z file. It will be just showing still scenario. You will not be able to change it, or if you change it after that is to a zip file also, you will not be able to create it. So that's one of the important thing you need to note it when you're creating it. So just take this as a challenge. So next time onwards, any projects don't have any blank buttons, or maybe don't only the round buttons. right? So that's the scenario button. So make use of the icons because your customer will not feel that I have spent something. Why can't you change the icons? Because this is pretty much important to change the icons, because of this people will think that there are some customization which is not possible from the control flow. Right, so then the next thing is security courtesy light driver. I think most of you using the motion sensor with automation and programming it, and with control 4 you don't have to programming right now. So what you can actually do is use a security courtesy light driver. That is actually the driver name, security light. Add the driver, add the light what you wanted. If you have multiple lights you can select. I'll just say one light and set, and then movement detectors. Maybe the motion sensor, or maybe if you're using a doorbell push contact, or maybe if you are using a door station camera, and you can use any of the motion sensor available, and then set. That's all you are done. So you can set the fade time, light level, seconds, all those things by yourself. And once you've done this, this motion sensor is binded to that particular light that will turn on, turn off based on your programming, whatever you're actually doing it. So sorry, you really don't have to do any programming for that. And what is the other advantage with this is this will actually give you option to enable and disable your motion sensor. Maybe for example, your customer says that today's party, I don't want to turn on my light. Sorry, I don't want to activate my motion sensor. Can you do that? Then immediately you'll be doing a programming, or you'll be going and deleting it in the composer, remoting it. So you don't have to worry about it. So just add the driver, select the motion sensor and the lights, then go to navigator. Maybe under security, I want to make it visible. So modify and make it visible. That's all. So now your customer will have the enable and disable options. And this enable and disable, even you can use it for a scheduler. Maybe if morning time I don't want the motion sensor, instead of using if condition and other things on the scheduler, you can directly go in, use the scheduler, create multiple scheduler, one to night and daytime. So daytime, turn it off, and disable the light, and then daytime you sorry at the night time you can enable the light. So this will give you more control over scheduling and controlling the sensors and the lights. Right, so then the next one is snapshot driver. So this was quite common. We talked about it in a quite time, and also the occupancy sensor. These two things I'm going to start now. So one is snapshot driver. So there is nothing much in the driver. You just need to add the driver to the project and select what is the devices it wanted to monitor. You select it and then program it to like take a snapshot, call it back. And even you can make it visible on your customer user interface also to take and recall the snapshot. So maybe under watch, I'll say modify, and I'll make my snapshot recall and save so you can actually have it. What is the purpose of this snapshot? I'll just give you an example scenario. Maybe for example, I'm watching a movie and I got some call. I set a movie mode, like maybe dimming the lights to a certain percentage, close my curtain, set my temperature right. I'm just watching a movie, but after 15 minutes someone calls me, so I need to go and take the call, important. So it'll be about 30-40 minutes, so I need to go out. So instead of turning it off before, so what I can do, I can just save my snapshot. So there will be a button to record snapshot. You can select that snapshot, and then you can turn off your room and you can go out and you can speak to the time whatever you wanted till the time if someone comes in, and if they are playing something else, so nothing actually all the things will work for them. Then once you are in, so maybe they can go out, or maybe if you turned off your room, that's fine. Then you can just recall the scene. So this will recall the same scene what you are actually set for, like your blinds, thermostats, fans. So you are calling the same mood again when you are back, right? And that's actually the beauty of the snapshot. So you really, so this customization, normally customer won't get it, because if I turn it off, they'll normally turn it off, or they'll not be having the particular channel to recall whenever they want it. Uh, that's actually the beauty of this snapshot, where you can enable and disable whenever you want it. And the next one is occupancy. So occupancy simulation is nothing but home if you are not in your home. So it is, that's what the driver is. So you can select the lights, audio, video things, whatever you wanted, whenever, and you can record, you can stop the record, you can play back whenever you want it. And this will actually start recording all your day activity. Every 15 minutes, it will check what is the status of your light, blinds, or maybe your entertainment devices or your security panels. Normally people use it for a lighting device, because if they are not in a home but they wanted to pretend like something is happening on their home, so they can actually do that. So this will give you all the programming control options for the customer itself. Whenever they want it, they can say, or you can select it by yourself. This will give you like start record, stop record, start playback, and stop playback. And if you wanted to clear your recording, you can actually clear the record history also. Uh, that's about it. And if you are not doing it, and if you are just adding the driver, and if you start using the occupancy driver, the occupancy driver will create some random scene by itself. By like every 50 minutes, it will just customize something by itself, and it will start adding and playing it by itself. So that's the beauty of occupancy driver. Right, so the navigation agent, I think people already know about it. So anyway, I'm just going and showing you what is the purpose of this navigation agent. So I'll go to agents, add navigation agent to the project, then next all the things in the programming. So programming, what I can actually do. So whenever someone presses the doorbell, or maybe whenever when the motion sensor senses something on my door station, and I can just say navigation to show the camera. So I can use the door station camera, and this will be visible under my touchscreen or maybe my on-screen navigator, and add it. So that's what it is. Whenever it senses something, it will capture the image, which means it will show the camera on your TV or the touchscreen. And also there is a snapshot driver. You can use that snapshot driver to send the snapshot to your mobile devices and other things. So this is for your on-screen navigator, like touchscreens and the televisions. So that's your navigation agent. And then I think most of us know about this wake up and sleep event, which is available. And sometimes what we see is most of the customers will say that in wake up and sleep, I don't find certain options. Can I add something on the custom programming? Definitely you can actually add it. So what you need to do is add the wake up and sleep agent to the project and select to the room what you wanted. And the rest all the things you can actually do it from here itself, like media, lighting, shades, all those things. If you wanted to program something, you can actually program it also. Go to the agent, where is wake up sleep, and then go to the particular room what you wanted, and then you can actually program. Like whenever I program it like wake in or sleep, or if it is enable, disable what you wanted, you can program any of the actions. And the important thing here is using your room. So always use the room and do the project. Right, so that's your wake up and sleep. And then of course the announcement on off agent. What has this announcement on off agents done? It's nothing. So if sometimes if a customer feels like they don't wanted the announcement, they can actually do it. So the only thing is you just need to add the announcement agent. Sorry, not the agent, announcement driver. If I'm running announcement, if your customer asks, I wanted to disable the announcement for a certain time, you can actually do it. So this is actually the driver name, announcement on off. And then you just go into your room and make it visible. That's all you need to do. So once I done this visible, and sorry, announcement visible, then I can actually make it like even maybe for the, sorry. So this announcement on off will be visible in the room. So you can select the announcement. Whenever it is on, your announcement will actually work. Whenever it is off, your announcement will not execute at the time. Because sometimes you'll be feeling that why this announcement keep on happening. Maybe at the daytime, someone keep on pressing the bell. So you'll be keep on getting the announcement if you are programmed it, right? So you can make it. So maybe only after the evening certain time, I can make it like make the announcement visible. Or even you can schedule it as well. You can call it, recall it. So you can do all those things pretty much possible. Right, so that's your announcement. And then the next one is the press and hold programming in your keypad. Right, so I think somebody might have tried it already. So somebody, if you're not tried it, it's pretty much cool operations because when you do single tap, double tap, triple tap, all these operations, your child or somebody is playing with the buttons, your actions will keep on happening it. So you'll be feeling like, why can't I do with the press and hold or something? Maybe if I press and hold for 5 seconds, I want to turn off my entire home. You can actually do that. How do you do that? You can do it via using a timer. There are 3 steps to it. Add a timer to the project, set the time, and then program whenever the button presses, start the timer. Whenever button releases, stop the timer, and then if the timer expires, execute whatever the programming you wanted. So that's actually as simple as that. So how does it does? How does it works? So maybe for example, I'll just add a timer. In my agent, and I'll add as a hold timer and give it for 5 seconds. And then in programming, maybe I'll program a keypad. I always have only one keypad, I suppose. Right. So whenever I press the button, what I will actually do, I'll select my timer, start the timer. Whenever I release it, stop the timer. So your timer start and stop happens from the keypad, but your actual programming happens in your agent. When that particular timer expires, you can program whatever you wanted. Maybe you want to turn off my light or turn off something else. You can actually do that. So that's actually the push and hold timer. So whenever I do this, these actions can happen. Right. So that's actually the press and hold program. So right now, so what are all the things we are actually discussing here? It's actually I have not I have done something by myself. So it was actually there in our knowledge base for quite some time. Knowledge base article number is 2211. So 2211. You can always take a reference. There are a lot of new things which is there, which will be showing in there on the programming, driver tricks, and other things. And also we have something called smart skills. All the smart skills are pretty much 2 to 3 minute video. It shows more flexibility, more programming options, more driver integrations. How to do, lot of how to do is there in the smart skill. There is about 150 smart skill right now. Even we'll be adding even more to the projects. Sorry, even more to the smart skills. So right, so that actually almost concludes most of the things what I really wanted to cover on the drivers basics and some of the best practice, right? So what is the best practice? Your blinds, gates, locks, most of the devices will give you a binding options. Always go by binding instead of doing it via programming. If you do it via programming, you need to program the LED behavior also. You need to set the LED behavior also to be programmed, right? So always you look for connections are the easiest way to execute certain actions. Definitely, if something is not there, you can always use a program. And always try to use the room control driver and other things for your audio video, because again it will also will give you more flexibility on the connections instead of doing it via program. And then comes the programming. When you do any audio video programming or any of the programming events, we say it as an event based. When this happens, do certain actions. Maybe for example, when this happens, do that. Maybe when sun sets, you know this functions anyway. So so whenever your customer says something, you always read it in when and then tab. So that's where we say you follow the record taking procedure. People normally use it for IT to test, right? And then next thing is room based programming. Whenever it comes to audio video based options, always do it in room level instead of device level. Room level in the sense, maybe for example, I want to program a pause button on my remote, right? So how I can actually do is, so whenever I say pause, maybe I want to do turn on my light to 20%, right? So this how do I make it more simple? So to make it the simple option, if I do it only via remote, what about my other device? Maybe my user interface like touchscreens or mobile devices. That's why we always say it has to be in room level. So as we say, go to room, select the buttons. Don't go into device and select certain options unless if something which is not there in the room level, definitely you can do it. So most of the options will be always there in the room level. So when the pass command in the living room happens, this will go turn your lights to 20%. Why we say in room level? So to uniformity, to make it as a uniform in most and every devices, whatever we have, right? So that's my programming interface. And then the next thing is maybe on the source side as well. Maybe if you want to play Netflix or if you want to trigger something, so always don't go into device and do certain actions. What happens when I say Netflix? What will actually happen here? It will turn on your Roku and it'll just like switch the input from the Roku and then it'll switch the AV receiver, it'll turn on it, it'll do all these actions, it'll actually turn on TV and turn on the source. Normally people what they do is because they are very much familiar with the other programming stuffs as well, so they normally go into program, select the device and do it. Never ever do for audio video devices in this way. This will actually screw up your entire programming if you are doing it for the audio video level. So easiest way we have, why you want to worry or why you want to do it in the device level and do all these things. Select the room, select Hulu or Netflix, whatever you wanted, as easy as that. So that's what the programming steps I really wanted to highlight on, because normally I see they'll go turn on Tata Sky, turn on TV, nothing happens, then sometime 20 seconds later, do certain things. That is really not the right way of doing the project. Right. So whenever you have any doubts in audio video, we always say go to the room, right, in the composer, right? So not the actual room, right? And then few of the other things outside, normally on the button and the LED behavior, if you're using a dimmer or the switches, always go to button behavior, check the button properties. Engraving, I'm not doing it for now. So the button one, whether it is set for toggle the load particular device is connected or you want to use it as a keypad. So if you want to use it as a keypad, you set it as a keypad. Otherwise, what will happen? Your light also will get controlled and your keypad function also will start happening. So that's your lighting control. If you are controlling the lights, if you are using as a keypad, you can use it as a keypad to program anything else. And then on the LED behavior, if you say follow load, it is actually controlling the load which is connected. If you say follow connections, it will follow the other connections, maybe your blinds, advanced lighting scene, etc., experience buttons, and all those things. You can do it via connections. And if you do it via push and release, normally push and release, we don't use it much in the cases, but if you are doing it a program, you can program it, because with the push and release, there is a push one color and the release one color. So normally it does not make much use cases in the projects, but programmed makes some of the use cases, right? So set the right behavior and then try to execute the program, right? And also program the LED behavior properly, because most of the times your customer will say that your keypad is so blank, or maybe your keypad does not do anything. You can make it to do anything. You can say that if something happening, you can do like you can program the LEDs, you can program the backlight. You can say that at the night time it will not turn on, at the daytime it will turn on. Each and every device have the ambient sensor built in. You need to use and you need to make use of all those functions which is available in the device. Then only they'll be seeing it as a smarter device. Otherwise it will be just like a blank device. They'll be very much worried about the look only. So if you don't do with the functions, that's what pretty much important with the keypads, right? So that's my bit of best practice advice for most of the programmers who are doing it, and there is even a lot, but we'll see and discuss in some other time. Right. So, and the steps for troubleshooting. So this is actually a critical thing. When I'm doing a new project, so I'll be not having much issues, but I'll be doing it for the old project. If I'm troubleshooting something, definitely I'll be like, how do I check this? Right. So as I told you, so as we say, the simplest solution is the right one. Okay. So don't confuse your customer, or don't get confused by yourself, or don't try to last by yourself, like whenever you are troubleshooting something. So the best to start with, the basics to start with, we always say 9 basic steps. Okay. So there are 3 categories, and each and every 3 categories, there are 3 steps. And very simple, your physical layer, then network layer, then the project layer. Always if you have any issues, start from your physical layer. Check the power, check the cable, check the power cable which is connected properly. And because I'll always keep on say this, I think I might have told about the n times of I was actually troubleshooting a DVD player IR commands without powering on a device, right? So dealer also say that it is emitting, programmer also say that it's emitting, but it is actually not connected to the power. So go by basics, and then your cables connections. All right, so your IR, your HDMI, etc. All those connections, just check that. And once you check it, your environment. For example, I have a Zigbee devices where it gets overheated, or maybe if I have a Zigbee devices near to the microwave oven. So check your environment conditions, and also whether the device gets overheat or the wrong device connected. So check all those basic environments, and then comes your networking. Check your networking configuration, or maybe your customer change because it maybe they changes the ISP router or any configuration changes, because customer will not change say that I changed the router. They'll just call and say that it is not working. All right, so it's actually a pain. So then only they'll say I changed the router. You'll be going and checking all your side, then they'll customer say that I changed the router, does it make any difference, right? So it's a pain. So you need to check in that aspect as well, and check all your IP devices are identified, or IP and Zigbee devices, everything is identified to the project. And a basic and very powerful tool, each and every devices, I'll always say ping the device, it pings properly. So then definitely it's gonna be like you're gonna figure it out from there itself. So once you check down the network and the physical layout or layers, then always you can look for the drivers. You're using a right driver, whether it is updated or is there any TV or devices which is the firmware update happened, that may break your driver response. Maybe the manufacturer also has to release a new driver, like how we had some something happening with the Apple TV 4, right? So something, so you need to check on the driver versions and whether you are using the right driver. And also whenever you are updating your controller, you also on the right, on the bottom below, it will show you with the green arrow if there is any updates available for the driver. Always ensure your driver is updated recently, because for TVs and other devices, your customer will update the firmware if there is any new thing available. But for the drivers, you need to update it, or even you can schedule it. But always check and update the drivers. And then comes your connections. Check your your composer physical connections. And then the last one is your room endpoints. All right. So that's what the plan for room endpoints. Always check your, then you check your audio video endpoints, because most of the audio video issues happens with your endpoints. So just check that. Once you've done this, your things will work properly. This is like when you're doing it for the initial stage, or maybe at the next stage. All right. And after that, there are composite tools where you can actually check as well. So I'm not going into each and every tools. I understand dealers knows about tools. That's why I'm just jumping in directly to the system manager. All right. So I'm going into the system manager and showing it to you for a better understanding. So whenever you have some issues with the devices and the device response or the controller response or any of the things, we always say send the log or check the log, right? So to check the log, maybe for example, I'll connect to the controller system manager. Once I connected, it'll actually give you a couple of options like status and logs, all those things. Right. So once I connected, I'll come to the network bit later. So there are something to be talked about it. So one thing is status. So this status, you really don't touch it. Don't have to do enable, disable anything unless it is instructed by a tech support guy. So sometimes some of the service you might be not using it, so that will get disabled by itself. We say each and every service in the controller. Maybe for example, if it says audio client, your audio services. If it says Apple ID, your Apple ID, Apple devices integration. C4 server, it connects to my cloud server. And then director, your actual program. So navigator, your on-screen navigator. OpenVPN, access to the controller remotely. So everything is actually available in the controller itself. Your Zigbee, Z-Wave, everything is available. So whenever you enable something, it gets enabled by itself. So don't try to enable, disable, play around with this. It is not actually needed for the dealers to be enabled and disabled unless it is instructed and told by a technician from control force side. Right. So, and then the next thing is logging. Right. So whenever there is issue, how do I debug it? Right. So very first thing, go to your log level and your director. So director is actually the main guy, right? So we say, so you set your log level to debug, right? So that is pretty much important. Most of the time it might be in info or error. So you set it to debug, and then it will keep on running in. So whenever I ask for a log, don't directly send only one log. You always take a snapshot. This will actually create a zip file comprising all the logs and the current device status, everything by itself, and then you can actually send it. So maybe for example, if you want to see what does logs look like, so you can actually see a look, but few basic things. Normally some of the debugs you really don't need it, or we really won't be needing it. So we particularly look for the device, what is actually having the issues and what is actually eating the device memory or the command issues and all those things. Check and send it. That's what about the logging you normally do it. And also one more thing. So with 3.1, we removed the PuTTY login and SSH logins option. So what you can actually do is you can right click and go into terminal directly, and you can execute any commands if you wanted to like check the status and other things without login and password. We removed that password because it is against law and it is easy for anyone to log in the password, and even it does not make much a use case. So we removed that option. We made it visible. We made it more into secured into control 4 network by ourselves. So, and if there is a case, if I have a EA3 or EA5, any of the controller which ships with the whole time zone or anything which is not connecting it from your PC, we always say change the time, right? So the best and easy way is go to times. And if you don't have internet also, because if you don't have internet also, sometimes the time will not work, right? So by default, we always ship the controller with the internet time server. If you want to change the time server, go to legacy time, change the time, and then go to network, reboot the controller. Then it will actually take the actual time what you're actually sitting in. And if you change it to internet time server, once you have the internet back, so then definitely it will be start using that particular time. So then after you'll not have much issues. That is mainly for the controllers which will not be able to connect it with because of the time zones. Right, so that's about the system manager. And if you wanted to know what is each and every server, what is IO server, what is SIP server, and what is the port it uses, something related to internal services, you can always refer the article, which is 523. And the next thing is CPU usage. So this is actually the system diagnostics app, which is available in your system manager. Sorry, not in the system manager, in your composer tools, system diagnostics. So this will actually give you the entire CPU usage and the memory usage. Always ensure that your CPU usage can spike up to 70-80%, then it has to drop down to 0 when the system is in ideal stage. Maybe 1 or 2% it can go on up and down, but when the system is totally not used, it will be in 0%. Right? So that's what the case is. So some cases, if I always see something from 24 to 60 it's spiking up, it is always there is some issue, some driver eating a lot of memory. So how do you can see that? You can select the CPU, you see what is happening on the below, and you can able to figure out, you can say what is the process. Based on the process, you can figure out something issues happen. Maybe the Zigbee range issue, or maybe IP devices not connected, or polling the IP devices wrongly, all those things, right? And the next thing is memory. So most of the projects, the normal memory case will not go more than 70 MB. If it goes more than 1000 MB, so then there can be some devices which is taken more memory into the controller that gonna cause some issues. But ensure it, if when you're seeing it, it will be always lower than like 700 in the range. Maximum it will be 800. That's what it is. And don't go into other things, because this logging is the same thing I was shown in the system manager, but I can monitor it live. And whenever I ask for the log, don't reboot the controller and take it. And also whenever you have any issues, don't directly send me the log and say that there is some issues, right? Try to check by yourself and see what is actually happening and take our help before sending the logs, and then send the logs. Because sometimes if I say send the logs, what happens is if there is any issues which is happened on the program, anything, whatever it happens, they directly send the log. Definitely that will not help in this. So if anything related to the device issues, definitely that log will help, right? And that's about it. Or maybe if you wanted to monitor any programming activities by yourself, you can actually do it. How you can actually do it? Go to agents and select history. You can record the system events, and this will tell you the entire system history, like what is the button presses happening, what is the door shift detection happening. So each and everything will be actually showing in here. So this is like whenever maybe my customer calls at night and say that every night at 12 o'clock my light turns on. So what can be the issue? So then I'll enable it. Maybe if they have the motion sensor, maybe a cat or something crossing it, or maybe something, maybe a window opens, closes, or any of those things will actually cause that as well. So like this, you can actually monitor from the history. This is actually basic level where the dealer themselves can monitor by themselves. And the system log is something for a critical case, something which is really not working or something. If you are having response issues, then you go into enable debug and monitor for some while and then send the logs. And also, if you wanted to check your programming and everything by yourself, you can open your detective suite. So this detective suite will actually give you all the connection windows as well, and also the programming windows. Any programming issues, if something I have given, or maybe I can actually take it as a printout, and it will actually give you a print document where you can actually a PDF converter and convert it a PDF, and you can see your programming as well. So that's few of the things what I wanted to highlight on the troubleshooting side. When you have the system, it's everything fine. And when it comes to networking, most of the people ask and say that what I need to do in the networking. Really, like on the networking side, it's much deeper because each and every manufacturer, every networking device operates on pretty much different way. I'll just run through a few of the things you need to know about it on the networking. Before that, as I told you, we removed the default password login and other things. So you need to use only the terminals to log in. And even the system manager web interface, we removed it. So you need to use it from the composer only. Open the composer, then it will give you a system manager option. You can connect it. And then the network tools. The network tools is no more available. So it's also again uses the default password. But this tool is almost very similar like your connection, network connections, right? So you really don't have to worry about it because you'll have all the features in the connection itself. And always remember to set the DNS what we say, which is 8.8.8 and 8.8.44. Why we always keep on saying this is because in some cases your ISP, internet service provider, will not actually give you the active service DNS address. So if it is setting in there with the router address, you will have some of the actions which won't actually go out of your network. Even it is not only for the control for, even your software update of something else, some of the voice over IP calls, all those things will definitely have an impact. So we always say, so better don't set it in the controller, you set it in the router itself. If your server, if your ISP gives you the static IP, maybe the DNS IP, you enter that DNS IP. If not, if they are asking you to put the router address itself, then definitely you put 8.8 something else. Right, so that's the main thing you need to know about the. So where do you check this one? So this is under your system manager, the first tab, actually the network tab, and the last basic one is actually your network checks, right? So as we are getting into more of the internet stuffs and the networking stuff, so definitely your systems and everything gonna be looking for some of the best performance. That's why even if you buying a local router, third-party router, look for some basic secure firewall features, security features, and where the router also has the multicast control, because this multicast is very much needed when you have more number of IP-based devices in a network. So when we talk about the multicast, three things to know. One is unicast, multicast, and broadcast. Okay, so most of the default ISP routers, what happens is it comes with the broadcast setting. So if you connect it to the system, it will work. And sometimes if there is no communication, your system will see a lag. So always look for some router which has the multicast options. You can enable that. And the next thing is UPnP. And if you have any routers with the intercom issues, we always say in the router you enable the SIP, disable the SIP ALG. So this is actually the another thing which actually causes issue with the intercom in some cases, but in few cases it works. It is actually with the ISP router configuration settings. And on the wireless, so definitely you need to look for wireless isolation to be disabled, and also the Wi-Fi enhancement to be enabled. So they'll have different terms on the wireless, but Wi-Fi enhancement is nothing but the beam forcing technology and the wave 2 technology on the access points. We need to enable that as well. And if you are using projects with the managed switches, so what we say about the managed switches, why do you need, when do you need? If you have a project with more streaming devices and more security devices like cameras and other things, what all the devices, the local devices which uses more bandwidth, that time you would definitely need a managed switch. Even in the managed switch also, there are low categories are also available. So at least you can look for in that level. It is not actually kind of L2 level, but it will give you a basics of your same kind of L2 level. Because if it is a managed or maybe the web smart kind of switches, what can actually do is each and every port can actually transmit about like a gigabyte of data. But when I connected everything to the single unmanaged switch, the total overall speed actually bandwidth allocation will have an impact, right? So these are small things on the networking side you always need to look in. And this is again a knowledge base only 643. So you just go in, and in some cases you might be need to enable the spanning tree. In some cases you might be need to enable the flow control, but you need to know what it actually exactly does. And the knowledge base actually tells you what it exactly does. And we always feel on the networking we really having a lot of issues going on in some cases, but it's mainly on the multicast setting which can actually help you in most of the cases. And the next thing is if you have a ISP router and also your own router, use your ISP router as just an IO, just like put them in the bridge mode or maybe the DMZ mode. If it does not support bridge mode, put the DMZ mode where it just passes all the information to your router. Your router handles the entire information what is getting in and out. Why we say this? Your app will be slow if you have the double net in the project. What happens? The first request go to your main router and then it goes to the second router, then it comes back. So definitely there will be a lag when you're connecting from remotely or maybe your intercom calls, all those things. So uh, consider all these points on the networking side. Make it just check on all those things in your projects. So that is pretty much important. And then comes the steps on troubleshootings. Uh, so that actually concludes most of the things. When it comes to troubleshooting, we always say have your own kind of flowcharts. Step one solves, go to step two. Step one solves, go to end. Otherwise, go to step two and do another research. So always go by simple to highest methodology. So don't actually go like high level. And if your customer calls and says that something is not working, it is actually not a symptom. So you really don't consider not working as a symptom. So what is not working, from where it is happening, so what sequence even that works individually, so or something happening in from there, you understand, make your own flowchart, go by your questions. If you gather more information from your customer, you can easily figure out what is the problem without going to site. So then you can actually go prepared to the site, because once we actually this all this gets over, because you might be running in each and every sites, so the more and more time you spend on the sites, it's actually a money, right? So make it smart, have everything, have the homework. So this is already you are in a home, so you can actually prepare when you are going to the site. You can like, if this is the issue, this is what it's going to be. So don't go blank, then definitely you will be in a problem, and you will be setting and things like one day, and then you will call us, we'll also will be setting the same thing, then it will be just like a time consuming process. So make it smart, have a documentation, have everything on hand, what stick down to the problem, what exactly happening. So make it things works just as easy as that. So then you are pretty much prepared when you are actually on the site, right? So that's what I said. So always don't just look into the composer and say that it is not working. There can be network, there can be physical issues, there can be cable issues. So make use of all those things and better prepared for the tomorrow, rather than waiting for tomorrow and going at the site and then just like nothing is working. So it is not the right way, right? So and then if you ask us only this thing, or if I wanted to know something else, or if I know something else, what you really don't know, what we actually do is almost 95% of the information what we actually share it with the dealers, or even right now whatever I'm sharing it, it is all actually there in the knowledge base itself, right? So we don't say something new, and have a check on it. uh, Definitely if you're busy at the site, or if you're going at maybe after some time, so definitely you will not get time to read or prepare by yourself. And this is not only for your sake, so maybe for your future as well. So you get smart by now, and that's what it's all actually all about. So do some homework, prepared, so be smart. So that's what it's all about. And in control first side, even we have hosted some webinar from the US sites as well, so you can have actually have a reference. Or if you have some time, you can use the knowledge base and the education portal as your knowledge in your career enhancer. So where you can learn about networking, where you can learn about basics, where you can learn about lightings. So each and every details can actually give you more in-depth of the knowledge, which can be used, you can use it in your future as well. So that's what it's actually all about. And the information, whatever we share to the dealers, as I told, so it's actually the 99 to 95% of the information, it is widely available, and it is the same knowledge, even what you access, the same thing only I also access. I don't have any special permission to do something on my own. And that's how it is. The only thing you will be not knowing it is if there is any bug or something which we'll be working on. So other than that, everything is actually on the internet, on the site, on the portal itself. So that's what it's actually all about. Right, so this actually concludes our session, and really sorry for extending it a bit more, but the content we wanted to cover it in that way. Right, so right now our session gets over, and we are opening up for questions. And Suman, you want to add up something?
Yeah. So as Mutamal said, we are open for questions. And 1 second, I'm stopping this recording. So any questions?